Okay, so we're ready to go. Let's call the meeting to order. Dee, can you call the roll, please?
Lee Sandwise. Chris Sturbaum.
Here.
Jen Saunders.
Here.
Doug Bruce. Pam DeSaller.
Here.
Elizabeth Mitchell.
Here.
Matt Seddon. Renard Cross.
Here.
Jeff Golden.
Here.
Duncan Campbell. Derek Ritchie. Jenny Southern.
Great. We have a quorum. So let's move ahead. The minutes are in your packet. I can have a motion to approve those minutes or any discussion around those minutes.
I move to approve the minutes. Second.
Okay, Chris Sturbaum.
Yes.
John Saunders.
Yes.
Sam DeSaller.
Yes.
Elizabeth Mitchell.
Yes.
Renard Cross.
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes,
Motion carries.
great. So let's move on to COA, COA 21-41.
Okay, I shall begin screen sharing. Good evening, everybody. The first case we're going to be looking at tonight is COA 2141 for a sign request on 101 West Kirkwood Avenue in the Courthouse Square Historic District. So the proposal is a sign that says skulls, bunnies at the end, like in the front of the building. So the staff's comments, I'm sorry, Zoom is being awkward. Okay, the staff comments are basically citing the historic district guidelines. Care should be taken with the attachment of signage to historic buildings and obscuring historic building features such as cornices, gables, pilasters, or other decorative elements with new signs is discouraged. And use of materials such as wood, stone, iron, steel, glass, and aluminum is encouraged as historically appropriate to the building. So the staff recommends conditional approval of COA 2141. The sign, the scale and the location of the sign are compatible with the guidelines. There was another sign placed here before in the exact same location. It doesn't really cover anything right now. And another caveat, I'm only talking about the sign on top because that's the sign that was in the COA application. The only consideration that that staff is recommending is to consider the use of more context appropriate material for the sign, such as wood, stone, iron, steel, glass, or aluminum as per the guidelines. And so here's Google image of the facade. The sign would go where the Mirth sign is used to be, just to give a bit more context with the rest of the building. And I believe that's it for now for us.
Okay, we have the petitioner with us. Layla, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so a lot of the signs that you'll see around the square are in fact what we're requesting here, which is a dimensional acrylic letter. It has very similar look to what you would see with aluminum. You can't really tell the difference between the two. There might be some confusion with that black that you see behind the lettering. That was merely just to block out anything that was residual on the picture that we put. So it would be, in fact, just the dimensional letters up there, no backer panel or anything like that. Just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Thanks.
Great. All right, Commissioner questions? Chris?
Yeah, did that mean that it's just put on glass? What is the back of the sign then?
So the sign itself, the letters inside that red circle would be just attached directly to the building facade where the previous sign was located. There would be no backer panel. It would just be individual letters, very similar to what you see on the Oh Child boutique.
But what's like on the Mirth, it's the orange is in the background. What's behind the letters?
It's
You
a
just paint
paint.
that black?
Yeah, it's just a painted wood facade.
Okay, but black, you mentioned as though it wasn't going to be the way it looked, but if you have black is the way it looks, right?
Yes,
You've got
yes.
black and then you got letters on the black.
Yes, exactly. On the markup that I used, the picture had some of the residual old signage on it. So I just put that on there to make it look all the way black. But it would just be directly attached to the painted black wood that is the facade.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and those letters, do they project or are they just flat, pushed, printed on the
They do
vinyl print
project.
on there?
Yep, they are a 1/2 inch thick.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
Sam?
Just to clarify what Gloria said, the petition in front of us only covers the signage right under the lights. It doesn't include there was a mention in the previous photograph about an acrylic stick-on the window.
Yes, that was my mistake. I didn't realize the vinyl decal needed to get a COA as well. That would just be very similar to what you saw on the previous window for Mirth. It's just the same frosted vinyl decal that would only go directly to the window. So it wouldn't fill the whole space. It would be contour cut with just the frosted and only consuming 25% of the window space.
The rest is clear, right?
I'm sorry?
My mistake. I'm not asking a question.
Okay.
So the black is basically where you see through the window, or the dark brown in that photograph.
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
John?
I have no questions.
Elizabeth?
What is the Skulls Bunny? Is that just the name of the company or it's something?
It's
Or
the
what?
name. Yeah, it's the name of the company. It's basically a clothing store.
Okay. All righty. I was just curious about that.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions. Bernard?
No questions.
Any questions from the public? Okay, Commissioner comments. Chris?
Freaky but compatible.
Sam? Sam?
I've got no issues with this. I'll support it.
John?
Same as Sam.
Elizabeth?
Or-
I don't have any problems with this. Bernard?
No problems.
Okay, I need a motion, please.
I move to approve COA 21-41.
And I second it.
Dee?
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Elizabeth Mitchell,
Yes.
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes,
Motion carries 6 yes.
great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's move on to COA 21-42.
Okay, so this COA 21-42 is for lifting a structure 2 feet using 3 courses of block on 414 West Dodge Street located in the McDowell Historic District. This is a non-contributing structure, and the process of lifting is to be able to access certain areas better and be able to do repairs. The building is staying in place, and staff recommends approval of COA 2142. And here are just a few more images. I think that's it. Yeah.
Are you here, Bob? Anybody representing Mr. Shaw? Well, let's put that aside and we'll come back to it. So let's move on to COA 21-43.
So COA 21-43 is requesting to replace the crumbling red brick tile foundation with split face cement block. It is located on 347 South Maple Street in the Greater Prospect Hills Historic District. So this project is being funded partially through the hand department as the owner occupied through the homeowner occupied rehabilitation program. Excuse me for that. The proposed material change for the so the rest of the comments come from the guidelines. The proposed material change for the exterior foundation impacts the public way facade along with private facing facades. And the current foundation material consists of red tile, plastered and stucco. It's gray stucco, so like the proposal wouldn't change how it currently looks. However, we're recommending finding matching in-kind red brick if possible and reusing as much of the existing material. So the staff recommends conditional approval of 2143, and there's a lot of images for context just to see what's show the extent of the project. So this is a split face brick sample of how the new proposed brick might look like, and highlighted in pink is the area of proposed intervention. So it's really across the foundation across the whole house. So here are some contextual images. The back of the house, this is the area that would be least impacted, and most of the brick is covered with plants, but the rest of the images showcase the current damage much more clearly on the interior and the exterior. So here are the different sides of the house, and so you could see what's going on with these blocks and bricks currently. Something here. The camera is from my end is a little wonky, the zoom camera. Okay. And here are some additional content. It's just getting a full sense of what's going on throughout the building. And with that, yeah.
Okay, great. Do we have a petitioner here?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was actually surprised by her recommendation of the red tile replacement, as we had talked about the split face cement or else cement block with stucco over it. I guess Chris could speak to this. I didn't think that the red tile was actually even available these days in that form, but the other thing is, I think originally we had talked about it going around the entire area, but Baker Stone as well as Chris came to the property, and the major wall exterior wall that's gonna need to be worked on will be on the south side. And then there might be, maybe, I don't know, a few tiles here and there on the other sides that need to be replaced, but the primary wall that will need to be replaced is on the south side.
I'd be happy to speak at this time too, if that's good for everybody.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, we've modified the scope by just getting the guys to fix those foundations all the time, and the existing foundation, the house was built on piers, 120 years ago. The piers are good, and probably 70 years ago, they filled in between the piers with that hollow clay tile and then stuccoed the outside. And the problem of the water came from like if you're looking at the house picture, it's on the left, that actually collapsed the little retaining walls in the basement on that left side. But the walls are fine and have earth under them still. But when they dug out basements by hand, they would leave about 3 or 4 feet of dirt to hold the old foundation in place. So it steps down and but that retaining wall fell, and that's going to be rebuilt in the basement. But the wall itself, the filler between the strong limestone piers is still there and intact. So the plan is to just repair the foundation where it's intact, but on the right side is really different. That's on the alley side. Somebody overdug and started digging more in that basement, and they undercut even the piers on that side. And the foundation is coming in. And in those pictures, there was a picture or two of black plastic. That's the side that's in real trouble. And there may have been a picture of the internal crack, but the problem with using anything but masonry block is that the masons are going to dig down to the floor inside the basement, put a new footer on, and build essentially an 8-foot wall all along that alley side. So we absolutely are going to need masonry block. And I suggest the split face is a fine match. And what may happen over time in this house, with more budget and more time going by, the rest of the foundation may want to be done. But you can't really see the foundation in the front under the porch, and it's not very visible anyway, as you can see in this picture. So I recommend that we support the use of the split face block. And we might even decide not to, really show the mortar joints so dramatically, so it has more of a stucco appearance. But that's the information really that I don't think Gloria was privy to, because we just found it out about 4 days ago, walking through with the people that really know how to do those basements. So I'd be glad to answer any questions, but that's my input.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Let's go on to commissioner questions then. Sam, any questions?
Sure. 2 questions, I think, for Chris. I'm assuming this is an 8 by 8 by 16 inch split face unit.
Right.
And it's going to be sort of limestone color as close as you can get, or?
Right. Yeah, that standard gray cement color.
We lost you. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I turned myself off. Apologies for that. The other question I had is, did we hear anything from the neighborhood?
No, so I've been sending the information to the neighborhood, contact that I was given for the neighborhood association, but just yesterday I got into contact with someone from Prospect Hill who actually participates in their neighborhood, like project building subcommittee, and they gave me like the better contact information, but it was too late to resend everything. So I have been sending the information, haven't been getting feedback back, but it turns out that it seems like I needed a different contact. So that's kind of where we're at.
This is actually news to me. Like, I mean, I live in the neighborhood. I could have done that too. I was the one that provided the pictures and the diagram of the house. So my feeling is that there wouldn't be any, anybody would no one would have any problems with this, but this was news to me. I didn't know I had to do that. So
That's not you. That's
Not you.
No, you're good.
I got one other question for Chris. So at this point, all we're talking about is replacing the entire sort of south wall, and you're leaving all the other walls in place under the scope of this COA. Is that fair to say?
That's probably right. They may run into something they didn't anticipate. I just would add that a house about a block from there, we've replaced the whole foundation with split face block. But it might not be good not to tie our hands in case the masons get into that wall on the other side and find a segment that might need to be relayed.
the northeast corner has some broken tile. It's not a large section, but there's going to be areas where they're probably going to have to replace. And I suppose those could also be stuccoed so it all matches. I don't know. The problem for me with all of this has been, I'm not a mason, so it was really good to have Baker Stone come and kind of give me, what the scope of the project, because, it was hard for me to know what tiles needed to be replaced or not. But there probably will be some areas. It probably is not going to be super significant, but like Chris said, we don't really know what we're getting into until we actually get in there. So
I'd add that we might salvage the tile off of the wall that we rebuild if that happens.
All right, thank you. I think that covers me.
Okay, John,
thank you.
I have no questions.
Elizabeth? Elizabeth?
Yeah, no questions.
I don't have any questions. Bernard, any questions?
No questions.
Okay, any questions from the public? Okay, commissioner comments, Sam?
I've really got no issues with this one either. And I don't, given that the tile was an add-on later on and it's not structural and it's a pain to maintain, I don't know that I would encourage the salvage of them. I mean, it was just infill between the limestone posts. So, salvage with the limestone, I would say if you can, or if you want to. And but basically, I will support this and have no issues with it.
John?
I agree with Sam. I think it'll be a good project.
Elizabeth?
I support it.
I also support it as proposed, so that if they can, if they need to do more work, that it's, they don't have to come back. Bernard?
I support it.
Okay, I need a motion. I lost you again, Sam.
Oh, dang it. I support, or I move to approve COA 21-43 as proposed.
Excellent.
Okay. Pete?
Lee Sandwise,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum,
Abstain.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Elizabeth Mitchell,
Yes.
Ross,
You cut out, Dee. What did you say?
Renard Cross,
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes,
Motion carries.
great. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Lee, I'm sorry, I didn't know you showed up. I didn't see that.
I just had my usual Zoom problem. I don't know what's up with this, but I'm glad I got in.
Well, welcome. Okay, so let's move on to 2144 4th Street.
Okay, so 2144 is for a new construction of 2 4-bedroom apartments aimed at student living. It's petitioned by Sam Earton for 412 East 4th Street in the Restaurant Row Historic District. So the building itself, in terms of scale and rhythm, isn't really an issue. The big concern and the reason that the staff is not recommending approval of 2144 is something within the guidelines. Basically, all buildings in the Restaurant Row face the street with primary entrances on the street facing facade. New buildings, and this is a standalone new building, will incorporate front-facing primary facades and primary entry doors. The entrances shall incorporate a front porch, canopy, or awning. A minimum of 1 pedestrian entrance shall be provided for any primary facade, which contains at least 66 feet. Basically, and no primary pedestrian entrance shall be located on the building facade adjacent to an alley. This building is behind the principal structure on 412 East 4th Street. So this is to be built on a parking space, the current parking space behind a contributing structure. And here's a lot more context. So these are the structures around it. There is another back street structure that is very similar to the one being proposed that I believe existed there before the historic district was enacted. However, I can be corrected if I am wrong on that. I was looking for information with planning, but hadn't received it yet as of this hour. And then the other 2 structures are the forward-facing buildings. And here is the proposed location for the building. It is on a corner with 2 alleyways, and it would be built beside another back alley independent structure behind another existing structure on 4th Street. And it is a complete structure with some apartments. The scale and rhythm and roof system isn't really at issue here, according to staff. Mainly the main issue that I found is that it is the location clashes with what the guidelines state. And again, if there is, that's just an interpretation here, and I will leave it at that.
Okay, great. Is the petitioner here? Sean, are you here? Okay, so let's move on. We'll come back to that. So let's move on to COA 21-45.
Okay, COA 21-45 is for the placement of solar panels on the roof of the house on a contributing building on 512 West 3rd Street, located in the Prospect Hill Historic District. So here, staff is recommending approval of 2145 with the understanding that this type of intervention is not considered ideal in the Prospect Hill Historic District. So the proposed solar panels are obtrusive and they are visible from the street. However, the front of the street is also south facing, which is considered preferable for solar panels. And so I looked at the Secretary of the Interior standards. Installing solar panels on a roof horizontally, flat, or parallel to the roof to reduce visibility is their recommendation, and that is what is being proposed here. And also the fact that the preservation of both historic and ecological resources need to be balanced. So here is the location for the proposal. I asked the builder if they were going to install a battery or where, and he told me they weren't, because batteries are another large occupying element. So yeah, that is the south and front facing facade of the structure. It's also where the sun would hit the house most ideally. This is looking at north. I don't think that's northwest. I think that's southwest.
Yeah.
I just copy pasted from the image I was given. So it's looking northward. So that's the southern facade and we're looking northward. Okay. And here is looking east. So that's the west facade. So that's how it looks currently, and that is what is proposed. So I will turn it to all of you.
Okay, is the other petitioners here?
Yes, we are here.
Right here.
Great. Anything to add?
No.
No, okay, great. Commissioner questions, Chris? I'm sorry, Lee?
I don't have any questions.
Chris, questions?
Yeah, I think the diagram illustrates that you really don't have an alternative if you're going to put panels on. Is that correct?
Yes. Excuse me. Can you hear me okay? This is Robert.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I'm with the solar contractor. So yeah, absolutely. That is color coded to show where the most irradiance is. The brighter the yellow color is where it's optimal. On the north side, where it's more orange or red, it's about a 30% decrease in efficiency. So absolutely, that's what that's meant to illustrate. And that's, we're trying to be mindful that, to keep it off street side, but at some point you're constrained. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, and just a further question, on the low slope, you've got almost the same color of orange on the low slope. Was there a reason to stay away from that?
It's as you get closer down, it's just less efficient. It's more costly. We're trying to, achieve a right amount of power or energy production. So if we're going to start getting a disparate array, that's decreasing efficiency, increasing cost. So ultimately trying to keep it as cohesive as possible, as high towards the ridgeline as possible, or really ultimately where it's most efficient or optimal. And that happens in this instance to be higher up towards the ridgeline because of the trees.
Okay, so this is just an approximation when you're showing the orange. It really is a gradation low to high. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, what do you mean exactly? I mean, it's certainly an approximation based on, advanced algorithms. So it's accurate in that nature. It definitely grades from, as far as the color representation is concerned. It doesn't always have to be high to low. It just, in this instance, because of the slope and the characteristics, azimuth and all that nature, that's the nature of this particular site.
Right. The angle is better.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's, we need it optimally would be 30 to 33 degrees, which is, we achieve closer to that up on the higher portion. If we get down on that low slope, it becomes more flat. I think it's like, 7 or 9 degrees, something like that. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Pam?
Anything from the neighborhood?
Probably the same issue, and this is regular Prospect Hill, which that committee doesn't really deal with.
Gotcha. Thank you.
John?
No questions.
Elizabeth?
Are there other solar panels in the neighborhood on other homes?
There are.
Yes.
We've approved about 5 in both the regular Prospect Hill Historic District and Greater Prospect Hill. We've approved these projects. I don't have any questions. Bernard, questions?
No questions.
Any questions from the public? Commissioner comments, Lee?
No comments, please.
Chris?
Yeah, I've always tried to balance the two, preservation and ecology like this. So I think I'm evolving on this and seeing these more as removable objects that, and who knows, the 10 years, 20 years, there may be a different way of collecting the energy. They look like crap, but they're important. So I've come over to this side and I'm going to support this.
Sam?
I'll follow up quickly on what Chris said. As long as they're not destroying original roof material like an old tile roof or an old, standing seam copper roof, but those are easy to install solar panels on, or even a slate roof. I think sustainability is an integral part of historic preservation. So I've got no issues with this one, and I'm going to support it.
John?
I concur with my fellow commissioners.
Elizabeth?
I'll support it.
I'm also going to support this. Bernard?
I like them. Got my vote.
Okay, I need a motion.
I will move to approve COA 2145.
Second,
Go ahead, Dee.
Lee Sandwise,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Elizabeth Mitchell, Elizabeth,
Yeah.
Renard Cross,
Hear me? Yeah.
got it, and Jeff Golden.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to COA 21-46.
So COA 21-46 is another property on the Greater Prospect Hill Historic District, located on 340 South Euclid Avenue. The petitioner is Michael Dalton, and he's requesting the replacement of siding, windows, doors, soffits, fascia, gutters, and downspouts. So the staff comments that the siding, windows, and doors to be replaced are not original. The replacement windows and doors keep up the scale and design of existing fenestrations. The hardy plank smooth lap siding maintains the scale of the current siding. And although and you will see the accent shingle sidings on other historical structures. So you're going to see the proposed accent shingles in a second. The proposed staggered edges does not represent continuation with the building's existing sidings, and therefore the staff is not recommending its use. But other than that, the staff does recommend conditional approval of COA 2146, and now we will see a lot more context. So here is the location of the structure. The proposal is for the main structure. So all sidings, windows, and doors to be replaced. Here's the images have some explanation to them as well. Just getting more views of the house. This is a south angle. The colors are much more muted.
Colors are amateurish.
You will see the color samples very, very soon, but this gives you an idea of how the two textures that are proposed and their locations, as well as where the door, and you will see a sample of the door as well in a few minutes or seconds. So yeah, here are the different sides of the house, and so this is more of how the color scheme and patterning would actually look like, as well as trim for the fascia. And and here are samples of the doors and proposed windows. And yeah, so that is the information I have now.
Mr. Dalton, you have anything to add?
No, I think that covers it. I'm certainly happy to modify the design and remove the staggered edge accent.
Okay, great. Commissioner questions, Lee?
No, I don't have any.
Chris?
Yeah, two questions really. The scale of the siding is inappropriate, being 8-inch. And 4-inch cement siding would reflect the age of the structure and the context of the neighborhood, and it would look much better on this house. And all the windows have been shortened. And if he's interested in replacing the windows and making them tall again, which they were probably 1.5 feet taller originally, that would also help the scale of the house to recapture its elderly, its older look. So I don't know if that's, I think it would not look good to use 8-inch wide cement hardy planks when really a 4-inch lap is the standard of this era of house.
Is there a question in there somewhere, Chris?
Yeah. Are you married to the wide siding, or would you be willing to change it to the 4-inch, which is probably the siding you'll find when that siding gets pulled off? You'll see the old 4-inch siding.
Yeah, there is 4-inch siding underneath. You're correct. I only submitted the 7-inch lap because that's what was available from the contractor in the pre-painted version. I'm sure that if I can get a 4-inch lap cement siding, yes, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, you definitely can. I don't know about the pre-painted, but they're pretty good reasons sometimes to put up the painted, because the unpainted, you'll have a little more control and won't have damage to that finish and such. So, and are you going to be, like, if you have the option to make the windows bigger, is that something you're interested in, or is it really just plug in the same holes, which is more practical?
I was just planning on replacing the windows with the same dimensions. Some of the windows, as you can see under the porch overhang, that porch overhang is not original. So the windows actually come up very close to the
right. I see that. Yeah. Okay. Understand. And you might get a pleasant surprise about how they treated the gables, but that may have been, you never know till you pull the siding off.
Right.
Sam?
I guess the only question I have is on the proposed band board between the lap siding and the staggered, are those both at the same height relative to the, relative to whatever?
Could we see that view of the proposed new siding?
Yeah, there you go.
Right. The white band was, I believe, a 10-inch wide piece of trim. Again, I'm happy to take other design directions here.
I guess what I'm asking more, there's a 10-inch piece of trim on the front east facade, and then there's another 10-inch piece of trim around the corner. And are those how is the one that's located on the north on that one? Oh, it's located okay, never mind, I sort of answered my own question.
Could I jump in on this view?
Yes, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, if that corner board continued up and maybe broke that plane and had that die into it, it might look less awkward. If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
A low corner board on the porch.
Absolutely. I was just sort of going with my amateur instincts here.
Understand, we're just trying to help.
But yeah, certainly that corner could easily go up. Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
John?
Yeah, I had a question about the windows. In the example you have here, you have a double glider. Is that one you planning to use that window or is it just for example?
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear that.
In the packet here, there's a window that's being displayed, available styles. One of them is called a double glider. Are you planning to use that window or are you going to use the double hung?
Only the double hung. There is one double glider in the back that is not at all visible from the street. It is only there for fire code for a bedroom.
Great, thank you very much.
Elizabeth? Elizabeth?
No questions.
Great, thank you. I don't have any questions. Bernard? Bernard, any questions? I'm going to take that as a no. Any questions from the public? Okay, commissioner comments. Lee?
No comments.
Okay, Chris?
This is a question. How did we address the gables? Was that something that was recommended to not use that material in the gables?
That's what Gloria had.
Right.
Said. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the staggering shingles would have not been there, and they would have been saw cut shake if there was anything there. And I think if he opens it up and finds something, he might have an argument to, restore that the gable decoration. But he might also add a band board or a skirt board that goes up and down. Maybe it's called a frieze board on the flat plane of those gables, which would give that gable some more attractive appearance anyway. And I could answer that personally if he'd like to talk to me about that.
Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Glad to consult if you like.
Yes.
Sam?
We're on comments, right, Jeff?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that the petitioner is willing to do a 4-inch. I think that's more historically appropriate. I actually don't have an issue with him doing an infill of a different type above, although I would encourage him to figure out what, look under, see what's going on under there. And if he finds something interesting, go with that. But I think there is a tradition in houses of this era of, doing crazy stuff up in the gables. And, sometimes I like to encourage people to do crazy stuff. So I don't have an issue with this really as proposed.
John?
I don't have any comments.
Elizabeth? So Elizabeth is, okay, so I think Elizabeth had to leave. With the exception of using 4-inch lap, I'm good with this proposal as is. Bernard?
I think we lost Renard.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm entertaining a motion. F5.
I'll move to approve with the 4-inch siding and with consultation on the gables, not a full approval of the proposed material. I think it could be a mistake. And what is approved is 4-inch lap in the gables as well, but could consult with staff on how that gable could be changed if requested.
So that would be a staff approval? Is that what you're proposing?
On the gables?
Yeah.
I guess so, yes.
Is there a second? Is there a different motion?
I'll move to approve with the 4-inch lap siding.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second.
Okay, go ahead, Dee.
Lee Sandwise,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum,
No.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you, Michael.
Great,
Good luck.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Be glad to talk with you too if you still want to.
Yeah, I will be in touch. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Shaw, did you show up? Sean, are you here? So we need to table these two for the next meeting. So I need a motion for the table COA 21-42.
So moved.
Seconded by Sam.
Okay, Dee, go ahead.
Lee Sandwise,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so the same thing for COA 21-44.
So moved.
Second.
Lee
Dee?
Sandwise, Lee Sandwise,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes,
Motion carries.
great. So let's move, there's no demolition delay tonight? No, any new business?
Yes, so new business. So I was notified in the last 2 weeks that we were about to get basically deja vu for all of you. It almost, but not the same as the Smith House situation with the Ferris House, where the owners want to do some alterations to the external auxiliary structures, not touching the original structures. However, just like the Smith House, the Ferris House is not in the local registry. And so I talked to them this week and convinced them to nominate the structure for a historic district. It will be, and so that will be presented in the next meeting on September 21st as a staff report.
Way to go.
It's a gorgeous house. Thank you.
And the owners are on board. They are supplying me with a lot of historic documentation right now.
Okay, I have a raised hand. I'm not sure who that is.
Yeah, that is the architect. Hold up. There it is. That's for the next phase.
Okay, well, that's for the Rogers thing. Okay,
Oh, wait, there's another, someone else that contacted me about new business as well.
yeah, go ahead.
Let me see if the person is here. I don't remember their name, but they want to purchase a property in the northwest historic, near West Historic District. If you are here, please let me know. They want to purchase 2 properties, and they said that it had to be contingent on being able to demolish garages. I told them that we can't guarantee that in any way whatsoever, but yeah, 816, 812, these are 2 historic properties, and the person doesn't want to demolish them, but rather the garages that are on the back. I told them that they could present before you, but I don't think they are here. So they haven't bought the property yet. They might return in the next 2 weeks to talk.
Okay. Any other new business?
Somebody's got their hand up.
That's the architect for Rogers. We're gonna get to that.
Yes. Okay, so now to old business. So speaking of the Thomas Smith House old business, Ordinance 2132 was passed last week unanimously, and it is now part of the local historic registry. I notified the owners, and they should be submitting a COA for their project soon.
Yay!
So some happy
Nice.
news.
That's
And-
great.
And now for architect Terry Bradbury.
Okay. So this is the project that we looked at before, the Bob Shaw project.
Yes, you're on mute.
So
Can
go
you hear
ahead,
me?
Terry. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry for raising the hand prematurely. I thought I had missed the boat here. So I
Yeah,
apologize.
you're good.
You were not forgotten.
This is a continuation and a response to the what we looked at the last meeting, and moving the parking behind. If you recall, this was the gas station on Rogers, putting an addition on it, removing the building to the north of it and replacing it with some new housing. The original proposal was housing was across the back and parking was up towards the front, adjacent to the parking, adjacent to the garage or the gas station. Based upon your comments, this is a reflection of that concern. It's putting a townhouse, pair of historically would have been a double. It's very similar to the footprint that is of the house that's being removed. It changes the addition configuration slightly. And in the future, we'd anticipate doing probably 4 one-bedroom, a little building in the back that's 4 one-bedroom units. So I think there was some confusion on my part in terms of the application, whether it should be a new application or a old application. But my main concern here was to see that we were headed in the right direction to be responsive to what your concerns with. I think as Gloria may have told you, I'm actually, we visited Falling Waters today, so I'm in Pennsylvania. So I'm struggling with not having access to any paperwork and so forth. So that's,
I included additional plans and the elevations as well.
Yeah, this gives you an 1/8" scale to really begin to look at what the details of that that driveway between the double and the gas station might look like, and its adjacency to parking and so forth. So this is again, these are kind of obviously conceptual, but I wanted to make sure we're that this replacement of the building is the right direction, and the building type is the right direction. I think the gas station is pretty straightforward in terms of articulation of a same massing and so forth. The townhouses is picking up on the traditional double that would have been found in this period, a little heavier overhang to be reflective of the neighborhood. The gabled porch, showing some brick sort of to the window heads and siding above, and some kind of accent siding in the back, or in the gable end and so forth. So, and there's a The bottom elevation is the south elevation of the addition to the gas station. The top graphic is sort of standing in the back of the lot and looking towards the street. The addition is on the left. You can see the driveway between and the back of the double house. So I want to make sure we're hit. You know, obviously this needs a lot more development, but it's I wanted to get this in front of you, make sure I interpreted your concerns and comments the last time correctly.
So any commissioner comments or questions?
I have one.
Go ahead.
First comment, really good response to our feedback. It looks like a really nice plan. You're in the world of horizontal lines, I know, in architect heaven over there, but that front view, I wonder if there's something more horizontal that could happen to that porch on the left. You see what I mean? I don't know if you'd broaden it or make it flat or make it.
A lot of the porches on that street are a gable that faces the street, and I understand what you're saying. I had an earlier sketch that Bob and I talked about with the porch kind of going across the whole front.
Right.
And I think that it's not particularly reflective of what's on the street. It's more of a porch across the entire front would be probably a much earlier iteration of style. I think we could probably do some things with the gable in, possibly the post, the piers and so forth could be, the scale could be cranked up a little bit. And there's quite a few examples of brick piers with some post on top of it. Something kind of interesting in terms of the gable might, and this, have more of a heavy timber. I don't see it as a light frame. I do think that there's a need for the gable porch to have some presence to it against that backdrop of a fairly large elevation. So
Right. Yeah, that just caught my eye, but caught yours too. I appreciate that.
Right. I do think I hadn't really played with non-symmetrical, one of the thoughts might be to switch the door and the window so that you have, instead of having a mirror image, you just have a duplicate so you could play with the door elevations. But I think that there's some, if you're okay with the general direction, I think the porch we can work on the porch.
Yeah, really nice. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to second what Chris said. I think this is a big push forward, and I appreciate your reacting to the commentary last time around. And I want to emphasize what Chris is saying about the porch. And I think the one on 805 at this point feels more like a stoop than a porch. If you go up and down the street, a lot of the porches along Rogers take up 80-90% of the front facade of the house. So I'd really encourage you to expand that porch from, or the roof line of the addition on the front, the little shelter on the front, to incorporate the windows as well. I guess the other piece of it that I'd say, Gloria, would you go to the site plan for a moment? All right, so the only other thing that I would suggest is that the gas station is kind of anomalous on this street in terms of its setback, and I would argue that you put the townhouses at 805 a little more in line with the buildings on the adjacent properties, so that that makes the garage read more as something special. So that, it's a commercial building within the midst of a bunch of sort of mixed use and residential buildings. But otherwise, I think this proposal is, I'm very much more happy with this one. So thank you.
it's interesting your comment about the setback, because I started with actually lining that up with the building to the north and looked at the photographs, and that front face is actually a porch face. And I'm not so sure, I can't remember, but I don't think it's the original porch, but it has been massaged a little bit. So I'm a little worried about, I think the porch element needs to be, I'd agree with cranking it up a little bit and getting it to be much more of an architectural element. I am a little concerned about pushing the facade too much. I mean, I could probably split the difference, but I guess there was some logic in terms of letting the, I guess, I think we all like the gas station. I mean, it's a cute little building, and if you're going to miss it as you go down the street if you get a new building pushed up forward. That would be my. But I can sort of revisit that a little bit. But I do have some concern about getting the facade too far forward.
Yeah, beefing up the porch may take care of that issue anyway.
Yeah, I looking at this site plan a little bit more, I think the other piece of that, it's neighborhood context, right? And the old gas station has an acre of asphalt out in the front, but none of the other buildings do. So the other thing I would encourage you to do is to reduce the amount of paved area in front of the townhouses, so that reads as more of part of the neighborhood as opposed to part of the gas station.
Actually, if you look at the enlarged site plan, I did that. I agree with you. It needs to be yard space rather in essentially matching the sidewalk approaching the front doors with just a pretty simple sidewalk and grass. There's 8 or 10 feet of grass between the curb line and
I think that works a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Are you going to put some old pumps up on the island?
Well, we do have an intention of maintaining that. We've talked about maintaining the original curb there. It would be, I haven't really talked to Bob about the specifics of pumps, but that would be fun to do. It might be trying to find some old gas station, the right scale sign to put out there and so forth. So.
Right, cool.
Thanks so much for taking the time to show us this. I agree that you're on the right track, and it sounds like it's going to be a project that's going to turn out great.
Okay.
Anybody else have any comments? Okay, thank you.
Can I ask procedurally, this needs 2 applications, is that correct?
Well, the idea of the 2 applications was in case you wanted to send out the historic gas station first and get it out of the way first while you develop the other plans, but you can submit them together as well.
Okay, but they are, so so the paperwork we provided, is that considered the application for the 2, or do I need to submit an additional application for one or the other? I'd like to make sure I get us on the hearing the next time with the official voting on both of them, because they are tied together, I guess. Or maybe there's an adequate amount here to deal with it.
So just for it sounds smart, it's counterintuitive, but for simplicity's sake, I would just do separate applications just so that it's clean cut, and the gas station can have the comments, and if it's moved for approval, then it can move quickly if there's more comments or anything with the rest of the building. The other thing is, because the COAs last 2 years, and a certificate will last you for 2 years. If you want to submit for demolition, this is a complicated project. There's 3 things happening. You are welcome to I would say submit them again, because this is a new plan, this is a new proposal. But I would recommend submitting them separately, but if you want to submit them together, you can do that as well.
I think we'll probably submit them separately and make sure we get the actual approval on both of them on the next, what was it, the 24th, I think?
Well, that today was the deadline for that. It would be, yeah. It would be for October, early October.
All right.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other old business?
Let's see if we have something else. It's a lot of stuff today. Oh, no, that's it.
Okay. Any commissioner comments tonight?
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Chris.
An architect, and I think our architects will back me up, when they work for a client, they sometimes are more budget minded. And when we become kind of their client as well, they're asked to do more. And I've noticed how many of them kind of enjoy it. You know, they get to do more because we really expect more. And that makes the project, you know, collaborative, but essentially way better in my experience. So I love it when that happens. And I appreciate the work of the architects and us being somewhat of a client and asking somewhat harder questions. I don't know if we'd all agree there, but just wanted to share that thought.
Thanks, Chris. Any other commissioner comments tonight?
Oh, I concur with Chris. I think it's nice to jump in at the last minute and encourage them to do more. And it's, you know, sometimes I just didn't even think about it. So it's nice to be able to expand the scope a little bit. And then on another tack, we had talked at the end of the last meeting about sort of follow up on violations. And I'm wondering if legal has any additional information.
Hey, Sam, this is Daniel. Were there, I guess maybe I thought we had talked through everything. Were there other issues out there that we hadn't? I thought we talked about FES, and then was there something else?
Yeah, we talked about FES, but I didn't feel like we had a resolution on that. Because
we're still working through working through a resolution on it. Yeah,
okay, great.
Yeah, Gloria is working with the property owner, and I think sent some recommendations for the Ludwicki tiles that were there. So that's still moving forward.
Okay, that's all I was asking. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other commissioner comments tonight?
Just some buzz about the Johnson Creamery and whether local designation is an option or would be a suggestible option. Just keeping that thought alive.
Anything else? Any comments from the public? Any announcements tonight?
Oh, I heard from our previous staff person, Connor, today. He sends congratulations for the designation of the Smith House. And he has also been appointed to his local historic commission. So he's one of us now.
That's awesome. Any other announcements? Okay, let's adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Gloria.
Thank you. See you in a couple weeks.